Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about my goals for the month of June. So before we can hop into my goals for the month of June, we definitely need to take a look back at the month of May and see what I was able to accomplish or not accomplish. I currently use a Makselife goal setting planner to map out my goals each and every month, to include my weekly goals and some of my daily goals. So that is what I'm currently using, but moving into the month of June, I'm going to kind of mix some things up, and I'll be sure to talk about that towards the end of the video. So for the month of May, I pretty much got not a whole lot done. And it wasn't that I didn't get a whole lot done, it was that there were definitely some things that needed to take a bigger priority than some of these goals. And that big thing was my mental health. I talked about it briefly on my Instagram stories, where I was just in a place where I kind of had to pump the brakes on a lot of things and refocus on self-care and my mental health. And it's still something that I'm actually working on, that I work on quite regularly, but this really needed to be a priority. There are a lot of things, changes, pivots in my life and in my world that just kind of all started happening at one time, and I was like very, very overwhelmed. And I've already shared that I deal with some anxiety and depression, and it was definitely at its highest last week. Like, I feel really vulnerable sharing this, but when I say it was at its highest last week, I also mean that it was at its scariest. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was scary. My family was genuinely worried about me, and it really brought to light that I have just some things that I really need to work on and refocus on, and sometimes ticking off a million things on a goal setting workbook, planner, tracker, whatever, can actually make things worse for me. And I really had to sit down and acknowledge that and just stop. So I did focus on some things, like making sure my desk was clean every day. I think I talked about that briefly. I work from home, so I really had to focus on my spaces being separate but together and also organized. So that did work. I did refresh my meal planning routine using my Carrie L meal planner, and I really love that thing, and that has been working. Some of the things that I didn't get done, but I also did other things, were I was going to work on a filming schedule using Asana. I didn't quite get to that. However, business-wise, as far as business goals go, I did finally create a business bank account. I know that that sounds really weird that I'm just now doing that, but given our 2020 tax situation, there were a lot of lessons learned. Let me just say that. So one of the big goals that I did have that I hadn't quite started yet or written down on paper, I did get done. So that was a win for me. I did say that I was going to sign up for a content batching bootcamp, and I just did not get to it, and that's going to be okay. I might have to wait for the next round. I actually need to see when that's going to open back up, but I just didn't get to it. Now we'll get into like my physical health and all of that stuff, and none of the things that I had set out for actually happened, and that was reaching 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Did not happen. Workout routine, I said I was going to write it out. Did not happen. My AM reading, I was reading, or I generally read the Daily Stoic every single day. That also did not happen. It didn't even happen like once a week. I just completely stopped. Journaling 3 times a week, I did not do that. And if there was ever a time that I really needed to do that, it was this past month. So definitely adding that back in. Projects around the house. The backyard flower beds did not happen. However, we realized we need to move our shed before that can happen. So you'll see that in my June goals. Backsplash, we said we were going to make progress on that, and we actually did. So Jesse went and talked to the contractor, looked at some colors for tile, grout, all that fun stuff, got a quote. He's actually going back today when I'm filming this and hopefully getting us actually scheduled to do our backsplash, and I'm so excited. And then I said we were going to do the mulch in the front flower beds, and that just did not happen either. All right, so let's move on to the month of June. It's already June. June has already started, but I did actually sit down and write out my goals for the month of June, and it got kind of messy. Like, I just stopped trying to make it look cute, and I was like, I really need to think about what it is that I want to work on, not necessarily achieve or reach a specific goal, but progress that I want to make in different areas of my life to improve my mental health, my physical health, and just my overall well-being. So in my personal section, let me go back. So in case you're not familiar with Makselife, although I'm sure if you've been watching me for a while, you already know all of this, but the goal setting system in the Makselife planner focuses on 8 different areas of life, and that's just how I sort of organize my goals, is just kind of how it's set out here in the planner. So for personal, I have down reading some daily affirmations, focusing on my self-care routines. I was starting off really good in the month of January, February, and March. Late March, early April, I got really sick with a nasty upper respiratory infection, and it has been downhill since then. Now that I'm finally starting to feel better, I am like, okay, it's time to get back into the swing of things and actually take care of myself. So that's definitely some of the things that I'm going to be focusing on. For fun and recreation, I have down memory keeping. You guys, I have been so in love with memory keeping lately, and I don't mean in my planner. I mean, like, I have been doing like essentially scrapbooking, but in the sort of sense that you see people do like week in the life or day in the life, things like that. And I have personally been loving it for so many reasons. And the biggest is when you share a lot of content on social media, and I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but you can tend to start only snapping pictures that you feel that you're going to share on social media. And the pivot for me started to happen right around Nathan's graduation, where I realized I was taking all of these pictures, and my focus wasn't on keeping the memories, but on what I could share online. And I was like, literally like, what the hell? Like, this has to stop, right? I don't have to, the pictures that I take don't have to be shared on social media. And in fact, I should be taking more pictures that I save and cherish for me and my family to view. I do take a lot of pictures, and a lot of things don't end up online because, one, I don't like to put my children online a whole lot, and I definitely don't like to put my husband online a whole lot because he doesn't really care for the internet at all. So I definitely respect their boundaries there. I always ask them for their permission before I put anything of them or any of their images online. So that's one of the ways that I have been able to, one, kind of have this creative outlet, and two, have something just for myself and my family. When you're already giving so much of yourself online, it can feel like you have absolutely nothing left. And that is what memory keeping has happened or has done for me. I know that some people might ask, will I ever share? Probably not. And it feels good to say that simply because I share so much already. I can't share everything. And that has been another little bit of a breakthrough in my life lately, is that I just can't share everything because, you know, like Tabitha Brown says, that's my business. You know? So anyway, let's move on. All right, did I say coffee dates already? I have a few friends that I would love to get together with. We're all vaccinated. I'm finally starting to feel like a little bit of that safety around being able to be around people that are outside of my immediate family, and just finally getting together with people and connecting with people, because while connecting online is great, connecting in person, there's just nothing like it. For fun and recreation, I also have visit downtown Savannah. As most of you know, I live in the Savannah area, and Savannah is a very big tourist city and location, and when you live here in the area, you really don't go downtown very often, and it's something that we like to do when the weather does get nicer, and I definitely want to do it in the month of June before it gets so hot that it's just not fun to go downtown. All right, so for work and learning, I have a few things on there as far as like actual work and my work here online. My focus for my full-time job is to schedule some time off, and I have notifications on here. When you work from home or work remote, it can be very easy to just stay turned on all the time. it can also be exhausting and draining. So one of the things that I've been focusing on is setting times where my notifications are completely off on things related to work. And just kind of setting that boundary for myself between work and personal life. It's something that was easier to do in my previous job simply because I wasn't accessible at home other than by text message. I couldn't actually do my job from home unless I brought my laptop from work to the house. And that was very, very rare. Obviously working from home now, my work is always a few feet away from me, and it's very easy to stop eating dinner and hop on a call or answer an email. And I've kind of caught myself a few times doing that, and I was like, no. I cannot do that. So that's going to be one of my focuses for the month of June. So for family and relationships, I have date night for Jesse and I. Again, as things are starting to open up, we're all fully vaccinated. I definitely want to start heading out and eating out in restaurants again, as long as we feel safe and comfortable. The last time we ate out was for my birthday, and then before that it was March of 2020 for Kayla's birthday. So we haven't done it very often, but I'm ready to get back out there and just enjoy some good food. And I'm tired of takeout, honestly. So for health and wellness, I have a lot going on in this section. So much so that it literally says across the top for my focus, general health. Like just all the things, specifically mental health, but these are things that are going to help with the mental health situation. So I have workout 5 to 6 times a week. I pretty much stopped working out at the end of April when I got sick and didn't focus on any sort of physical movement at all through the month of May. And I think that on top of all of the things, not being physically active really took a toll on my mental health. And I didn't really realize it until I started getting back into the swing of things. And I was like, wow, I feel better. Is it a cure for anxiety and depression? Absolutely not. I would never say that. But it definitely helps with my personal mindset. I know that it helps me, and I know that it's something that I have to have in my life to have me feeling better, functioning better, being a good mom, a good wife, all of those things. And I just was starting to feel like all of those things were being chipped away at because I wasn't taking care of myself. The other goal is sleep. My sleep also took a big hit, and again, the lack of sleep really just made my mental health decline. I was sleeping maybe, in all honesty, 2 to 3 hours a night. It was bad. I don't know how else to emphasize that it was bad. And so now my goal is to go back to 8 to 9 hours a night and just really fix that situation. And then the last health and wellness goal is nutrition. That is another thing that went completely out the window. I went straight for all of the comfort food, which there's nothing wrong with that. But again, I have some dietary restrictions that I don't stick to. And when I'm dealing with some emotional things, it goes out the window. I start to get really, really sick. It's not a pretty situation. So it needs to be a priority that I make sure that I'm taking care of that area of physical health, because then when you're just feeling crappy on top of feeling crappy in your head, everything just goes downhill. So that is definitely going to be one of my focuses. And I truly believe that all of those things together will help me, along with some other outside help, like the medication that I take, the therapy that I go to. Like for me personally, I can't just depend on those two things. I know that is not what works for me personally. I know that I have to take care of my body on the inside, the outside, get rest, stay hydrated, and I wasn't doing any of those things in the month of May. All right, so for spiritual and personal growth, I will definitely be focusing on my mood and journaling more often. Also my reading, I am going to start picking back up reading the Daily Stoic every morning. And then I want to actually finish reading this book right here, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. I started it. Again, I stopped doing all of the things that mattered to me, and I really want to finish this book. You guys need to check it out. I just started it. I was like a third of the way through and didn't finish, and this is definitely a goal for June, is to finish this book. So for my financial goals, I kind of cheated because I did one of these things 2 days ago, but then had already written it down in my June goals, and that was to set up my business account. Like I said earlier, I didn't have that set up and it just got messy. So now this will help me sort some things. I also want to set up QuickBooks to keep better track of my expenses and things like that, because like I said, at tax time, it can get quite interesting if you don't keep track of those things. All right, so for physical environment, I really am excited about these two things, and that is to move our shed. When we bought our house, we also purchased a shed for outside in the backyard. We honestly did not know what we were doing. We didn't put it on a base, we just set it on the ground, and it has slowly started sinking. So the base for the shed is actually arriving today. Nathan and Jesse are going to work on emptying out the shed, setting up the base for it in its new location, and then moving the shed. It's going to be a process. It might actually take the entire month of June for the two of them to get this done, but I am glad that we are at least starting on it, because I'm sure our neighbors are like, do they realize that there's a tiny building in their backyard that is sinking into the ground? And then one of the goals that I moved over from the month of May was to actually put the mulch in our flower beds. I think we're going to end up sticking with pine straw, which is what our HOA demands. It's a whole thing. If we change the mulch, we have to ask for permission, and we're not in the mood for that. So we're like, we're just going to stick with the pine straw for this year and then maybe look into changing it next year. It is a bit of a pain and a bit of an expense to completely take all of the old stuff out and replace it with new. So we're kind of just going to take the simple approach and stick with what's already there and just refresh it with some new pine straw. I'm not a fan of the pine straw. I feel like it attracts more bugs and weeds and grass, other than most people say it repels those things. I disagree wholeheartedly. So one of the things that I want to change for how I am tracking my monthly goals is reintroducing the Powersheets into my goal setting system. So I did a review on this. I did a review on the Powersheets back when they launched, and I did all of the prep work. It was great, but I found the system itself a little bit overwhelming. However, I do love the tending list in the Powersheets. So that is something that I am going to reintroduce so that I can take my monthly goals from my Makselife and add them to this sheet on the Powersheets. It has all of the tracking that you need for all of your goals, which is extremely motivating for someone like me to check things off or color things in as I make progress. That is motivating for me, and I want to do whatever it takes to help keep me motivated and inspired as I'm kind of coming out of what I was going through last week, if that makes sense. What I love about this is that it's like on a perforated page, so if I wanted to, I could actually just tear it out and keep it up on my bulletin board in my office. I haven't decided if I'm actually going to do that, but I am excited to introduce this back into my goal setting system to help keep me focused and on track. All right, so that is everything for my June goals. Let's just we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're staying optimistic. We're going to try to stay optimistic. I'm excited to see what this month holds. I did not expect May to go the way that it did, but there were definitely a lot of lessons learned there, and I am thankful for that part, but I definitely hope that June is a better month. I would love to hear what some of your goals are down in the comments, so let me know. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed, make sure that you click that red notification bell so that you know when my videos are posted here on YouTube. As always, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.